This is the February 20, this is
Go
the
ahead.
February 23rd meeting of Manhattan Community Board 5 Transportation Committee. I'm David Sigmund, Chair, joined by Kiran Patel, our Vice Chair. We are virtual again today due to the weather state of emergency again. Don't get used to it again. Any items voted on at this meeting will appear at the full CB5 board meeting on Thursday, March 12th. We have 3 items on the agenda today. Presentation on Sammy's Law and a request to reduce city speed limits universally to 20 miles per hour. An update on the DOT Micro Hub pilot program locations review, public feedback, and street blade co-naming policy proposal. And then we'll have new business. I think all 3 of these items are going to be voting items. Kiran, if you could call the roll, since we're all present virtually today and everybody counts towards quorum. You're muted.
All right, so we do have quorum, and starting at the top for the roll, Charles. We didn't see Athena. Okay, Ankur. Nancy, I see. Samir, I see.
Hello.
Hello, Samir. Thank you. Chris.
Yes.
Okay, I'm here. Tiffany.
Here.
Okay, Will.
Here.
Okay, David, you're here.
Yep.
Robert. I see you, Robert. So we'll put you
I'm
in.
here. You can't hear me? Okay.
Yep, and Mandy. And I see Zool. Thank you. And then Joel, I saw.
Here.
Thank you, Joel. So, yeah, we're good.
Okay. Before we jump into the agenda, do any members of the public or the committee have new business that they'd like to raise? We're doing this first so members of the public don't have to wait through all of the agenda items if they're here to raise a new topic. Okay, seeing none. Let me walk through the order of business. Families for Safe Streets will take us through their presentation on Sammy's Law. Tiffany will then do the same on micro hubs, and Samir and Robert will lead the co-naming proposal discussion. Members of the committee and CB5 can then ask questions or make comments. After that, we'll take comments from the public. There's no time limit on public comments, but we do ask that you keep things succinct and avoid repetition. After all public comment has been received, we'll enter the committee business session where only committee members will discuss the matter with no further input from the public unless requested by the chair. And finally, if appropriate, we'll craft a motion and take a vote on a resolution. And after the last agenda item, we will adjourn the meeting. So with that, we'll turn it over to Families for Safe Streets.
I guess I'm
Hello.
okay. Oh, sorry. No, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay. I understood that I was to lead off. I will try to be brief, which is hard to do because I'm a lawyer and I'm also a registered professional nurse who like to talk to the patients. I am a member of Families for Safe Streets. It's one of those clubs to which nobody wants to belong. I was hit by a car, an SUV, driven by a criminally negligent driver who didn't even get a ticket because this is New York City. I was on a mission for a guardianship agency for which I worked. It was in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and ridden my bicycle there from my home on the Upper West Side and was stopped at a red light, obeying the law, waiting for the light to change. And an SUV rounded the corner on the wrong side of a two-way street and hit me. And this is an X-ray after my first surgery. You can see the screws. You can see there's, let me try to, the camera keeps moving. And you can see that the leg had 3 breaks, so it broke into 5 pieces. I needed a second surgery a couple of years later to remove the screws, which were causing me additional pain. And the reason I'm here talking to you is because the driver had to slow down when she was turning the corner. If she'd been going at 25 miles an hour or 30 miles an hour, it's likely that I would have been killed or even more severely injured. And because she probably slowed down to about 15 to make her illegal turn, I was only hit at a low speed. This is what convinced me, if I needed convincing beyond all the statistics that are available, that low speed is very important in cities and speed does kill. I'm a grown man. I had big bones. I was standing by my bike, so I was well above the level at which a child would have been hit by this illegally driven SUV. And the higher up you are, the more likely your head is to escape serious injury. The only serious injury I had was to my leg. I would like to see, if not throughout Manhattan, a 20 mile per hour speed limit as they have in Hoboken, where I understand for the past 9 years they've had no pedestrian fatalities from car collisions because of the lower speed. I'm sure that's a big factor. I'd like to see it everywhere, but certainly I want to see the city exercise its right under Sammy's law to reduce the speed to 20 miles an hour everywhere that it seems to make sense for safety. Much of the time, cars in Manhattan can't travel faster than that anyway. And when the roads open up and people are tempted, I want them at least to have in the back of their mind the law. And if they're going to speed, if they're starting at a base of 20 rather than 25, it could make a difference as to whether someone is just seriously injured, as I was, or is killed or really crippled for life. I was hit in October 2014, and I do my thing. I get on with my life, but every day I feel my leg. It was never the same again. And I feel guilty very often because so many people who belong to Families for Safe Streets either had more serious injuries, didn't know who hit them, hit and run, or had a loved one killed. It was bad enough what happened to me. I hope that you will help us to help people of Manhattan and anyone who happens to be in Manhattan to avoid going through what I went through and what so many of our members have gone through, even worse. As I said, it's a club to which no one wants to belong, and I hope no more people will belong, and you have an opportunity to try to help us achieve that. Thank you for listening.
Jeffrey, thank you so much for sharing that. Hi, I'm Alexis with Families for Safe Streets, and I'm gonna just share my screen. As Jeffrey said, this is a club that nobody wants to join, and it's not something that people get involved in because it's fun or they want to. It's because they know that they need to prevent this from happening to anybody else. Can you all see my screen? Great.
Yep.
Awesome. So thank you so much for having us here today. Like I said, we're here to talk about Sammy's Law and why speeding is so deadly and what we need to be doing to make sure that our club doesn't get any bigger. So Families for Safe Streets is comprised of people who have been affected by traffic violence. Like Jeffrey said, everyone has lost a loved one or been injured or cares for someone who was injured. And we are really trying to confront the preventable epidemic because every single one of these crashes is preventable. We have over 700 individuals across New York City alone who have lost loved ones, been injured, or care for someone who was injured. And we provide support services. I work very closely with a social worker doing, the day-to-day support with like just managing things like immediately after a crash and then dealing with the trauma that holds on afterwards. And we also do advocacy so that people can take their pain and turn it into something powerful and prevent this from happening to anyone else. I also have Kevin on here. I'm not sure if he wants to talk a little bit about traffic violence here in New York. I also can't see anything anymore.
I'm here.
Hi.
Hi. Hey, Alexis. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Sorry, I'm not on a video. I'm currently stranded in Chicago with this terrible weather until Thursday. So otherwise I would have been well, I guess we're all virtual, but I'm operating with a little bit less data here, so I'm off video, so I'm not coming in and out on you here. So thank you. Yeah, I am not a member of Families for Safe Streets. I'm an advocate in Greenpoint, but I have been involved helping to get this passed through community boards across the city. Our community board, Brooklyn Community Board 1, had passed this last year in February, an ask through our local CB to do implementation, to ask the city basically to implement district wide. And so we're now helping other community boards to do the same. So I'll pass it back to Alexa.
Great, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, so I mean, traffic violence here in New York is just horrific, and like Jeffrey said, just over the river, Hoboken hasn't had a traffic death in over 8 years. On the other side of that, in 2025, 206 people were killed by traffic crashes here in New York City. That's about one person every other day. And it is it's a huge toll on people. It's also a huge cost on the system. And unfortunately, vulnerable road users are vulnerable. Most of these deaths are pedestrians. 73 were motorists and 21 were cyclists. Manhattan Community Board 5 had almost 1,500 total crashes, nearly 800 injuries, and 5 deaths last year. One pedestrian named Vladimir Cruz, one unknown pedestrian, one unknown cyclist, Alexandra Sabine LeWalter Merrick, a pedestrian, and one other unknown pedestrian. And that was just last year. This is a map of data from the from Crash Mapper that shows all of the crashes that happened in CB5 over the past year, whether the ones that were all the reported crashes. So you know there were those fatalities, and then a lot of other people were injured or hit with a car. And we know that speed kills. It is just a fact of physics that the faster a vehicle is going, the harder it is for it to slow down. At 20 miles an hour, you're 8% likely to be killed. At 30 miles an hour, you're 20% likely to be killed. That's a really big jump for just 10 miles per hour. The faster you're driving means that you can see the person behind the wheel can see a lot less, and like I said, reaction times are a lot slower, and braking takes a lot more time. So 20 miles per hour versus 30 miles per hour might seem kind of small, but it really does make a very big difference in the outcome of who walks away from a crash. Just another graph that kind of shows that the faster a vehicle is going, the less safe the people are around it. And you know, in New York, we've slowly been lowering the speed limit, but again, every single mile per hour really changes the outlook of people who are involved in a crash. So Sammy's Law is a piece of state legislation that we passed in 2024 that gave New York City the power to set its own speed limits. Until recently, legislators from Buffalo got to decide what the speed limits in Midtown Manhattan should be. Kind of bonkers. So we got the ability of the city to lower speed limits and just change the speed limits. But now we need to actually do that. And most New Yorkers do agree that the city should be able to set its own speed limit. And lots of New Yorkers agree that that lowering the speed limit would be something they would like to see in their neighborhoods and near their homes. So far, with Sammy's Law, there has been some small local implementation. The Manhattan, south of Canal Street, is all part of a slow zone that encompasses all of Manhattan Community Board 1. But other than that one large area, there are the former Mayor Adams implemented 4 really teeny tiny slow zones in small neighborhoods. One in each borough, a very small area of St. George and Staten Island, the very cute small island of City Island in the Bronx, Broad Channel in Queens, and Dumbo in Brooklyn. But all of these are less than a half a square mile. All of them combined are less than a square mile. It's not it hasn't done anything to broadly make the streets safer. So we've been going to community boards, asking them to pass a resolution to request a slow zone under the authority of the mayor. In last year, Brooklyn CB1 passed a resolution requesting their entire district to be a slow zone. The Adams administration did not do that. Earlier this month, Queens Community Board 2 also requested a slow zone, and Manhattan CB4 has passed a resolution through their transportation committee. We have a mayor that is much more interested in street safety than we had just a few months ago, and that's why we think that if we can specifically ask for these Sammy's Law safe zones, we can get this done and start making our neighborhoods a lot safer. So we are asking for Manhattan Community Board 5 to pass a resolution requesting a district-wide slow zone. It applies on all of the streets in New York City except for roads with 3 or more travel lanes and state roads. You already have a few stretches of Broadway in CB5 that are slow zones, and CB5 does not have any streets that would not be eligible to be a slow zone. Right now, you can see the speed limit for the majority of the district or of the community board district is 25 miles per hour, other than a couple of those small green areas along Broadway where it is 20 miles per hour. And so we're just asking for a resolution similar to the ones that some of the other community boards have done to request a 20-mile-per-hour slow zone on all of the applicable streets. And I do just want to round this out by saying that Families for Safe Streets is here to support people. And if you or someone you know has been involved in a traffic crash and needs support, we are here. Like I said, I work with a really lovely social worker. We have peer mentoring. We've got resource guides. We can just help navigate everything that feels kind of crazy in those moments after a life-changing crash. And we really want to make sure that folks know that they're not alone, and that they can find support if they need it. So please feel free to share our information, because I don't want anybody to feel like they have to face this horrible thing on their own. Any questions?
I guess the one question I have is that there seems to be some finger pointing going on between the mayor's office and DOT on kind of who's responsible for creating these zones. And can you talk a little bit about that and how, if it has, how that's affected how these other community boards, other groups have acted on this?
Sure.
Kevin, did you?
Yeah. Hey, sorry, everybody. Yes. So I think legally, the authority of the mayor to establish Sammy's Law citywide by fiat seems legally murky, right? You know, if Mayor Donnie were to come in and say, we're going to do it in every corner of every part of the 5 boroughs, you know, that's a little questionable, right? But certainly, Mayor Adams last year concluded that it is within his power to establish it within a set zone, the size of a community board, right? And it also seems to us that if communities are asking for it, right, raising our hand and saying proactively, we want Sammy's Law done here, that also seems to be something that we feel positive and confident about, right? It was in when the state law passed, right? The state law, to clarify, allows the city of New York to establish its own speed limit from 25 to 20, to lower its speed limit, right? That was what the state law did. It didn't require that the speed limit be set at 20. It allows us to lower it to 20, right? Generally speaking. And so in the middle of 2024, when that happened, the Adams administration came out and said, we're going to do Sammy's Law. They really made a big deal out of it. They said, we're going to do 20-mile-per-hour speed limits at 250 locations, which sounds great. But those 250 locations were 99% single blocks in front of schools, which is good, but not the broad intention that, if some folks may remember that Mayor de Blasio had lowered the speed limit from 30 to 25, and it was done universally. It was done across the board on all streets, right? Citywide. I guess on every single street, but for the most part, most streets. So basically, that was the announcement from the Adams administration, 250 single locations, as well as one large slow zone, which was all of Manhattan south of Canal Street. So all of Manhattan CB1 and a little part of Manhattan CB3. In response to that, the community board that I am in, which is Brooklyn CB1, we pushed for an effort because they said, we're going to do this slow zone. And they said, we'll follow this up later on. We'll do some more slow zones in the future in other boroughs. And so that was when Brooklyn CB1 raised our hand to say, we would like to be considered. And other boards now are doing the same. So Queens CB2 just passed their own. Again, with the thinking that this is well within the authority of the mayor to do, certainly at the size of a community board, certainly at the scale of neighborhoods and communities. And we would like that to be explored and pushed for in the greatest degree possible. I mean, it's certainly within the scale of Manhattan CB5.
And it's not, there is some language in your presentation about residential. It doesn't have to be residential blocks. There's nothing, could be any block.
No, it can be any block other than the exceptions are roads that are, or streets that have 3 lanes in one direction, or some state roads are exempt, but none of those are in Manhattan Community Board 5.
And the 3-lane exemption also, I think it's important to note, only applies to the outer boroughs. So it doesn't apply in Manhattan. So it's basically more than 2 lanes. It doesn't apply on more than 2 travel lanes in a single direction outside of the borough of Manhattan. So within Manhattan, it's, for instance, I guess Manhattan CB4, which y'all are, I live in Greenpoint, so you guys are even more familiar with Manhattan CB4 than I am. It doesn't apply on the West Side Highway, right? But it applies on all other roads. So it doesn't apply on their state roads as well as in the outer boroughs, those wider roads. But otherwise, for you all, it can apply across the board. And our thinking, similar to universal daylighting, which we had pursued in Brooklyn CB1 and Manhattan CB5 had also pursued it. 23 other boards across the city, 23 boards in total across the city, had asked for universal daylighting. And that, to me, is really an incredible effort. It's moving in that direction. DOT is doing more daylighting installation. Legislation is being pursued. But I think that was something that we all saw collectively, a real opportunity for our neighborhoods to ask for these positive changes, right? The 2 of the things that contribute most to deaths and injuries from crashes is speed and visibility. And that's, in my mind, that's Sammy's Law and that's daylighting. The magic number in Europe for these cities in Europe that have really dragged the numbers of deaths and injuries down to a level that in this country right now feels unthinkable, but it's possible, right? Is that 18 kilometers per hour, right? That 20 miles per hour speed limit where you really are, you have the stopping distance to be able to stop. If someone does something that as a driver you might feel is unexpected, and that God forbid you are hit by a car, in that scenario, you're not hurt very badly, or you're far less likely to be killed. That is the number. That 20 mile per hour is the magic number. Yeah.
Thank you, Kevin. And I see we've got a hand up from Zool.
Oh yeah, please. Sorry, Zul.
David, may I make a comment?
Yeah, go ahead. Sure.
Okay. So I absolutely support implementing Sammy's Law in Community Board 5 and throughout the city. Thank you so much, Alexis and Jeffrey and Kevin. So many people living in cities around the world have really come to understand that cars ruin cities. And I really appreciate the term that you used earlier, traffic violence. These cars, these SUVs, so many of these private vehicles are so highly problematic in so many ways. They kill people. They create tremendous amount of pollution, and they create stress of every kind all throughout the city. It really is time that we really move to affordable municipal parking lots at transportation hubs, get people out of their private cars and onto public transportation. We need to eliminate on-street parking. There's so much we need to do. So I'm very much in favor of a resolution from CB5. And David, you'll tell us when the time is right. We can draft that reso tonight and pass it.
Okay, thanks, Zul. Anybody else from the committee with a question or a comment? Christopher, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to also make a comment. I'd like to add my story to this. It's almost the same as Jeffrey's. My father, the day before Thanksgiving 25, was hit by an SUV who was turning. This was in suburban New Jersey, but I don't think it matters particularly where. And we're going through the same stuff, like the screws in the leg, and he's going through rehab. And it's just very clear that this sort of thing needs to be limited, especially in places where it's like as dense as our district is. And I mean, I could add another story to that, which is when my father, my father was very active, 74 years old. He was helping me move a couch because we replaced the couch and to my aunt's house in Jersey City. From where I live near Union Square to Jersey City, the entire time, we never got above 14 miles an hour. Because, and I'm not complaining like it should be faster. Like it just like in a lot of the areas of the city, it's not even like useful to go above 20 miles an hour. It's not even really possible. It shouldn't be possible. And I am in full support of drafting a resolution to, make sure the entire district is protected.
Okay, thanks.
David, an important point, I just want to point out for Christopher's comment, which is great. And I really appreciate it, Christopher, is that also what this does with enforcement. I know there's been some concerns about the speed limit. Basically, it allows the city is able to enforce the speed limit when a driver goes more than 10 miles over the speed limit. So currently, that means that when a driver is driving 36 miles per hour, they can receive a ticket for speeding, right, on 99% of the streets of Manhattan CB5. This would allow the city to enforce speed limits at 31 miles an hour with that 20 mile per hour speed limit district wide. So, even for those that might say, oh, well, how fast are folks going on the streets, so on and so forth. We saw those stats earlier that Alexis shared that at 30 miles, difference between 20 miles an hour and 30 miles an hour is huge. So that's just an important clarification I just wanted to have there. I know a couple hands are up, so I'll take it back.
Great. Thanks. Robert.
Thank you, David. So thank you to all of the presenters, particularly Jeffrey, for your advocacy and your bravery, for pursuing this cause. I could not be more supportive of a resolution to reduce the speed limit in the district, throughout the district, to 20 miles an hour, which it sounds like is potentially feasible for every street in the district. I think all of us if you live in the city long enough, which I think many of us have lived here for quite a long time, we've all experienced either ourselves or people we know and care about. We've been involved in crashes, interactions with cars, people that we know have been hurt, to different degrees, and is long past time, to echo, a comment that was made at the outset, to take the issue of pedestrian safety, bike safety more seriously by reducing our dependence on cars. So with that, again, I wholeheartedly support this proposal. Thanks for being here.
Thanks. Nancy.
I imagine this would include e-bikes and other motorized vehicles that ride in bike lanes.
Yes.
That's great. Thank you.
And right now, Nancy, this is part of the conversation, which is that right now the city, this was part of the contention with the Adams administration. The Adams administration, though, despite the many, many, many years and many hundreds of deaths from folks getting hit and killed by cars, right now, my understanding is that Sammy's Law basically is only being applied in regards to e-bikes, and so I think that this is also something that, we really want to see applied fairly and across the board, especially for those that are, again, 206 deaths last year from cars and trucks. So.
Thanks. Yeah, Kieran.
Just echoing everyone's comments here in support. I too have family who has been struck and numerous close calls, especially maneuvering around with a small child in tow. So yeah, anything that we can do to improve pedestrian safety, we're in support of, and our sympathies do go out to you guys as well for what you may have suffered. Thank you.
Thanks. Zul, is it something new or?
Yes, a very quick comment, just to bring to attention of Alexis, Jeffrey, and Kevin. There is almost no education and almost no law enforcement when it comes to speed limits, to running traffic lights, going the wrong way. So I think that would be a very helpful thing to add to your presentation. And that's really the next step. There really should be cameras in every traffic light. We should be able to get everyone who goes through a red light, everybody who speeds in this city. So that I think would help with your presentation. But I think we're ready to move on to a resolution. If you think that.
No, we'll see. There was a hand raised from the public before. We have two hands. Charles, do you want to go ahead? You can unmute.
Can you hear me? Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, we can.
Thank you for recognizing the public. Thank you very much. I want to add a comment, and you still can hear me okay?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, I'd like to add a comment and some questions for the lady from Family for Safer Streets. Just want to say, as a vulnerable road user, being a blind pedestrian, I've mentioned before to this board that I'm more scared of the cyclists, to be honest. Because when I'm out with my home health aide, they cut in front of us when we're actually got the light to cross, which is very dangerous. And it actually means that we have to stop in the middle of the crosswalk and wait. And, as you know, the seconds are ticking down and it puts us more at risk. So I just wanted to add that. But my questions for the lady from Safer Streets, I'm sorry, I can't say your name at the moment because I have my Amazon Echo and it'll start being activated, I'm afraid. I wanted to know, being that we have a deficit in the city, quite a large one, as Comptroller Levine has stated, in the billions, and I've got a few questions, sorry. I was wondering, how much will it cost to make these slow lanes and all these modifications and these changes to the streets? I was also wondering, how come it's targeting every street and not certain streets that have more of an issue? I would have thought that, for example, Park Avenue with 2 lanes would be more of an issue than like a side street that the cars don't seem to go as fast. The other question is, do you think congestion charging has any effect on reducing any of these incidents with cars? And my final question, I do apologize, I'm not trying to take up too much time. I was just wondering, does your organization work with any other advocates? I know there's other advocates that want to improve safety, such as transportation alternatives. So I was just wondering, do you guys partner with them? And do you know if there's any other community boards out there that have any advocates, like transportation alternatives or your own as board members? And do you also look into safety of pedestrians who have problems with cyclists, or is it only focused on cars?
Yeah, thanks so much. Great questions. So I definitely do want to recognize that the e-bikes can be scary. I've definitely had some close calls as well. But at the end of the day, cars are the ones that are killing people more than e-bikes. There's 1 or 2 deaths from e-bikes, and so we need to target the bigger problem. That's why we're focusing on these multi-ton vehicles that are much more likely to kill. But again, the speed limit would be for everyone. So then it's something that we are working on. We take the e-bike problem very seriously. We do work with a variety of other organizations, including, Transportation Alternatives, Riders Alliance, lots of disability advocacy organizations. AAA was very helpful with getting Sammy's Law passed, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. We're happy to work with anybody. Was that all of the questions, I feel like?
Yeah, there's a question about how much is it going to cost, because we have
yes,
a deficit in the city.
Yeah, so the only cost is signage, which does need to be routinely replaced regularly anyways. So it's pretty minimal, the cost.
Okay, thank you.
There was
Danica?
there was just one other question, which I think was a good one, sorry, which was just about applicability. So why ask for it on all streets? Why not ask for it on a few streets versus, larger streets versus smaller streets, cross streets, whatever. And I think that something that I think is really important, that I'm really glad that Alexis included, was the crash map of Manhattan CV5, of all crashes in 2025. And when you look at that map, and I know this is something that's not going to be a surprise to the community board, but there are injuries at virtually every intersection, crashes on every street in Manhattan CV5. And that's not unique or specific in particular to this community board, but it's the case on every street. And wherever anybody lives, no matter where they're crossing, no matter where they're going to work or school, that street ought to be as safe as any other. So, and it's a good question. So thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Kevin.
Danica? Are you still, yep, you can go ahead and go off mute.
Okay, perfect. Can you hear me?
Yes, thanks.
I just had a question. I've never heard of Sammy's Law before, so thanks for introducing me to that. I'm definitely in favor of anything that's gonna, improve pedestrian safety. I just had one question. So I know Kevin mentioned while he was talking that there has been like a citywide lowering of the speed limit under de Blasio. They went from 30 to 25. He said something like that. I was just wondering, like what kind of effects that had, or like if there is kind of like a precedent for like in that time when they did lower it from 30 to 25, did that help with kind of pedestrian safety and injuries and fatalities, or not as much?
Yeah, so there's a great chart that you can I'm sure I could find it and share, where it shows that traffic violence and fatalities and crashes and injuries were all going down since that change. When COVID hit in 2020, it kind of screwed everything up. And now we're kind of back at a higher number, and we're again working our way back down. But yes, the change from 30 to 25 miles per hour did make a large improvement.
Awesome, that's good to know. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other questions or comments at this point from the public or other members of the committee? Yeah, Joel.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm having, okay, good. Just having trouble with my headphones. Just based on what Nancy asked and what several people have said and what Alexis said earlier, can we include in whatever resolution we do that what we're acting on is applicable to both motorized vehicles and including e-bikes?
Yeah, so let's jump into it then.
Okay.
I think that's one element. I think another element would be the work that we've done on daylighting, the work that we've done generally already on, e-mobility safety. So just our past record of, approaching this issue from a 360. Yeah, so if anybody has any other comments on things that should be included from the committee. Yeah, Charles.
I think just to clarify about the e-bike speed limit, my understanding is that it's currently at a flat 15 miles per hour citywide. So I'm whereas, obviously this topic that we're discussing, Sammy's Law, has to do with reducing the speed limit from 25 miles per hour down to 20 miles per hour, which is actually higher than the current citywide e-bike speed limit.
Yeah, that's a good point. Is there anything else on this? I mean, that was the mayor's action, right, last year. So is this really effectively applicable to e-bikes?
So
Yeah, Joel.
it could be depending on, there's already been talk in the last 6 weeks since the mayor took off, 7 weeks since the mayor took office, about him reversing Mayor Adams' executive order by executive order. So if he did that, then Sammy's Law is totally relevant, or any reduction in speed based on Sammy's Law would be relevant. So I would ask that we include it. If it's relevant, it'll apply. If it doesn't, if the 15 stays in effect, then obviously it's not relevant.
Yeah. Okay. Sewell. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is relevant, partly, as Joel suggests. And you really come back again to the law enforcement issue, and I think that really should be included in the reso. Although the bikes legally cannot go more than 15 miles an hour, many do. And it's just whatever kind of motorized vehicle it is, and whatever it is, if there's no enforcement, there's no education. Where are we with this? So I think that's an important piece of a reso, the education and enforcement issues.
Okay. Any other? Yeah, Robert.
Yeah, I'd like to respectfully disagree. Not that education and enforcement aren't important, because of course they are, but my perspective, for what it's worth, is that the resolution should be mainly focused on cars. To the extent that there could be some incidental impact on e-bikes, which frankly I can't really see even now. Those are things that to me could be dealt with in a separate resolution, if and when they became relevant. Sounds like under existing law there really shouldn't be any effect. So my suggestion is we keep this focused on cars.
Yeah, I mean, I would just, my initial comment was that we have kind of a long history of dealing with different aspects of this issue. And so if we're taking action on this, I'd like to, keep it relevant to, the prior actions that we've taken as well. So we have taken.
I wasn't disagreeing with you on that. I agree with that.
Yeah, so from a historical perspective, we can just say, we support education because we've passed resolutions in the past that do that. Yeah, Ankur.
I was gonna sort of echo what Robert said here. I think, happy to extend something like this to bikes if the executive order is overturned
Right.
or revoked. But today, this is not relevant to the executive order because to bikes, because bikes are already required to be below that speed limit. But also no objection to including whereas clauses that note our long history for increased education and all of that. I just we should make I just think we should tailor our resolutions to the facts as required by them.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, if there's nothing else, I mean, Ankur, this kind of falls in your pedestrian experience group. So if there's somebody in your group that you think could be the author of this, that would be great.
Perfect. We'll do.
Yeah, Joel.
Based on what Ankur just said, could we include just what he said, that it's because Alexis said she does feel that this is meant to cover e-bikes. Can we say in the reso part that if the executive order, the 15-mile-an-hour speed limit is revoked or rescinded, that we support including e-bikes in Sammy's Law, e-bikes and other e-vehicles and other motorized vehicles. Otherwise, we have two speed limits on the same streets for different vehicles.
Yeah, the term is motorized vehicle.
Yeah,
right. Without getting into what the state law definition is for that, I just,
Right. Samir, yeah.
Yeah, I just think that whatever we end up passing, the resolve should be as simple as possible. It should just be, resolve CB5 supports a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit across all of CB5.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think it's what Ankur said, we can include the historical piece of this and other aspects of the issue in the warehouses. Yeah, Ankur.
Just wanted to ask, is there any, have other community boards passed similar resolutions? And if so, we've sometimes tried to be consistent with our resolve clause with our neighboring community boards. So I guess I wanted to ask either David or Alexis, has that happened? And if so, can we get copies of those resolutions so that we can try to match our language?
Yeah, we have resolution language from Brooklyn Community Board 1 and Queens Community Board 2, I believe.
And you haven't seen the language from Manhattan CB4? I just looked briefly. I couldn't find committee level, it hadn't been passed by the board yet. So
happy to share that, David. I will say that those boards have I think have kept the resolutions relatively simple. A lot of their whereases have been more about, just the utility of this, right? The numbers of crashes. But the ask at the end of it has been to say implementation of Sammy's Law within the district. Because even though it is 20, it also allows for a couple of other things like 15-mile-per-hour speed limits in front of schools. So that's the language has been very simple and straightforward. In that regard.
Thank you. If you send it to David, if you wouldn't mind sending it to me, I can get it to our committee, on subcommittee and we'll try to follow that practice of mirroring the sort of simple language that's been used elsewhere.
Sure. We'll just ask them directly for what they passed in committee.
Thank you.
Okay, if there's
just to be clear, I just because a lot of times this strayed very far from what Alexis said was meant to be included. Are the whereas clauses going to clearly express that this is intended to cover e-bikes if the 15-mile-per-hour thing is revoked or rescinded or found to be inapplicable?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm in favor of that. We can. I don't know if anybody has.
I mean, that's key to my vote because I support this really strongly, but I think it's got to be across the board. And the objections that I'm hearing, I think are, kind of thrown in against what the applicant is asking for. And so if we can't be clear about it, I guess I'd have to vote against this because it's not what we were being asked for.
And I will just say that right now, there are two different speed limits on our
Yeah.
streets. There is the
No,
15
I
miles
understand that,
per
but one is by executive order and the other is under state vehicle and traffic law. And that's what really is key going forward. That's what police have ability to enforce. That's the important speed limit.
Yeah, Ankur.
I guess I would maybe ask Alexis if the other community boards that have passed similar resolutions, did they also include language about e-bikes, or was that omitted? No. So then I get my point, Joel, to respond to that. Certainly if the executive order were to change the law around e-bikes, I would support having a lower speed limit for them. But what worries me about adding that into this resolution preemptively is, I think the focus here, and I think the presenter spoke about this, and it seems like the other resolutions have also focused on this, is cars. And I think often what happens at some of these meetings is that some people on our board are a little more concerned about bikes, and they'll try to change things that are about cars and say that we want it to be about bikes. For me, it's important that we mirror the language that we've seen in other community boards, and we address the issue that is currently not addressed by law, whether that law be legislation or executive action. Currently, there's one area that's not addressed by law, and that's what we're being asked to address. So I'd like to keep it focused on that.
Joel.
Could we agree to use the term motorized vehicles?
Is that Ankur, you have the same concern about that?
I guess I'd be curious. I haven't seen the language, unfortunately, that the other boards have used.
Well, Alexis had one of them, had the Brooklyn one in her presentation, right? It was kind of a one-liner, it seemed.
Yeah, I can pull it up again. Hold on.
I'm just suggesting that rather using the word cars or SUVs or e-bikes or anything like that, is to use the word motorized vehicles. Term motorized vehicles.
Kieran.
Yeah, I think if the focus is pedestrian safety, it seems like we're getting mired into cars versus e-bikes, and I do agree that the presenter did say, look, we want to go after the biggest out there, which is the car, right? But if the point, I think the presenter's point is also pedestrian safety, to celebrate pedestrian safety and do something about it, then I'm okay with motorized vehicles. I just want to throw that out there.
Okay, Alexis, do you have that?
Yeah, it wasn't actually the language that they used. It was just sample language, and it actually doesn't even specify cars or bikes. It is just the community board is asking NYC DOT to institute a district-wide 20-mile-per-hour slow zone on all applicable streets.
Well, there you go. That would be the most, the broadest. Charles?
Yeah, I think that the speed limit applies to every vehicle on the road. So if there were a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit, every vehicle would be subject to that. The only reason e-bikes have a lower speed limit at the moment is because of an executive order. So even if that executive order were rescinded, if we had 20-mile-per-hour speed limits throughout our community board area, the e-bikes would also be capped at 20 miles per hour. That's they are subject to the same speed limit that everything else is subject to. The only reason why they're not currently is because of this carve out with the executive order. So I think it's best that we keep the language clean, and just make it very clear that we want a 20 mile per hour speed limit for every vehicle.
Yeah, okay. I think that, that seems to be what the model language is, so we can do that. All right, any other?
Sorry, Dave. I'm looking at Clean CB2's resolution right now, and what it just says is 20 mile per hour vehicle speeds and 20 mile per hour speeds on all district streets. So it doesn't specify. It's much more about the speed on all streets and having that be comprehensive in terms of the location where it is implemented, much more so than the types of vehicle which it is implemented, that it, you know, that it follows the law in that regard. So I can forward this now.
While we're on that, so using this term safe zones or not using the term safe zones, is that meaningful in what we're doing?
I don't know. Legally, the slow zone is not something.
Slow zone.
The slow zone really seems to me to be something that's just established via the mayor's, you know, at the mayor's discretion, right? It was Adams that said we were doing Sammy's Law within this area, but he could have said we were doing it within a larger area. You know, Zoran can do the same, or Mayor Rondani can do the same. So, you know, I don't know that there's a specific, you know, it's more a matter of, you know, it's not a specific portion of the law, right? If the mayor can establish the slow zones.
And the fact that these, some of these other examples are asking DOT to do this, as opposed to asking the mayor to do it, or asking
I think it's
the
you're
city
asking
council
both.
to do it. Yeah.
I don't know that you're not asking the council. I think the council, you know, this is what you were getting at earlier, and I didn't maybe detail as much of it as, you know, maybe I should have, but the mayor is saying that the council should pass legislation requiring it citywide, and the council is saying that the DOT and the mayor have the authority to establish Sammy's Law broadly, though they haven't said that he has the authority to establish it universally. So that's kind of where but in the meantime, there's a lot of areas where we could have a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit that don't have them while everybody's sitting around.
Right.
You know, this is where the community boards can come in and really do some good and important work to say, hey, you know, we don't have to figure it out for, you know, every corner of every neighborhood, but Manhattan CB5 would like it. Brooklyn CB1 would like it. Queen CB2 would benefit from it, you know, so on and so forth. So.
Right. Okay. So we would basically be saying the mayor and acting through DOT.
And I think you should CC your city council members and your electeds as well to say it matters to you.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other clarification on what people want to do on this?
We're using the language in the that's in the chat, the Alexis model language.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me look at that again. Yeah. The only thing I said was we're asking, you know, the mayor acting through DOT to do this. All right. Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, make the motion to pass a resolution instituting Sammy's Law in CB5 with all the whereases that were agreed to here, including, most importantly, you know, the mayor through the DOT.
Second.
All right. Let's go ahead, Karen.
All righty. So we'll go with Charles.
Yes.
Okay, Athena.
Yes.
Okay, Alice.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Encore.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Samir.
Yes.
Thank you. Chris.
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes. Tiffany.
Yes.
Will.
Yep.
David.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Mandy.
Yes.
Zool.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
Okay, it's unanimous.
All right. Thanks very much. Thanks for coming in, or whatever this is.
Thank you so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Next up is Tiffany and Micro Hubs.
Okay, let me share my screen. One sec. Sorry, one sec.
It'd be nice to be there.
Well, this kind of is my view, but it's fake. Okay. So
as we know, DOT, and I think Colleen's actually on the line too today. But DOT came to us back in September of 2024 to discuss the microhub pilot program that they were looking for certain community board interest to be a part of that pilot. And so I just took a couple of their deck for our just kind of overview of it again. So again, they came to us in September 2024. Not much has happened in our district. CB7 did roll out the first pilot program back in April of last year, 2025. And then within our Manhattan Community Board, CB2 last year wrote a resolution to support with a few recommendations of their sites and their whereas clauses as well. So just, I think most everybody kind of knows this, but I probably have some newer members that didn't see the original presentation. But the purpose of the pilot program was just to reduce truck congestion, double parking, pollution, allowing larger trucks to offload packages to smaller vehicles like e-cargo bikes and hand carts for the final delivery. It is to be a 3-year pilot program that'll test both on-street and off-street microhub locations within the 5 boroughs. And their number that they had said they were looking for was about 36 sites during this pilot program. Some of the private companies that would be utilizing this would be Amazon, UPS, Net Zero. I don't know if these have changed. This is just information from our previous presentations. And the program was established in response to the local law of 166 in 2021 that created to support the establishment of the micro distribution centers. And so that's just kind of a little bit of that overview. Again, this is just some definitions from theirs, just in case I kind of already said that. So the last time we spoke to them last year, they had given us some sites that they had initially brainstormed. They are these 6 sites here. And so what I did last fall was I reached out to all the partnerships and bids within our CB5. And with the help of the office, we also created a public comment survey. We had postings like we do with SLAP and posted multiple postings along all of these sites in like all 4 corners of it. Like I said, kind of did a lot. Did that twice at the end of November as well as the end of just January. Outreach was made to all the partnerships and bids, also in October with a follow-up in December and another follow-up again the last week of January. So here's just what one of the notices looks like. We made them specific for each one of the locations. We also had a generalized one that went out on our website, our newsletter, and was also posted on our CB5 website. And the public comment QR code you see there was another way that the public could then comment on it. I wanted to kind of show you, let me see. Here's what the public comment form looked like that the office created. Just gave their information, which locations they were commenting on, how often they used delivery systems themselves, how they thought that would impact the area, and also asked if there was any other suggested locations that they felt would be better served within our area. So that's pretty much it. Now, unfortunately, with all of that outreach, only 3 public comments came in from our entire huge district. And again, Isabel and myself actually posted this 2 different times just for weather and if anything came down, and we want to make sure we got as much. But unfortunately, we only got 3 public comments. 2 of those comments were about the sorry about that. I just go off. About the 7th Avenue between 58th and Central Park South, and then one was in correlation to the 31st Street between Park and Madison. Most of it is about the same. That one area on 58th between on 7th Avenue, they just felt it was extremely busy already with pedicabs right next to the park. And that it just extremely condensed, so they were not in favor of that at all. One public comment is not in favor of micro hub utilization, normalizing or having a purpose for us. They felt there's no change in air quality, but they did feel like everything else was negatively impacted, not one positive impact. Again, it's only 3 people, unfortunately. Obviously, everyone uses delivery services, and only one person responded at what they thought the best model would be beneficial for CB5, and that was called the last mile delivery locker system. That's just how I got the information from that survey. As far as the partnerships and bids, I did have correspondence with 34th Street Partnership and Bryant Park Corp. They had concerns with 2 specific locations on 41st, 42nd on 6th Avenue, and then the 33rd between 6th and 7th Avenue. Main concern was just that a lot of it with the sanitation on the streets in those areas to begin with, and just the public spaces. Grand Central Partnership, we spoke a few different times. Since none of those of DOT suggested locations were within their boundaries, they didn't have any specific comment. And I asked them if they were to see any area within their boundaries that they would like to suggest, then please do. But they didn't. They didn't have anything specific. Times Square Alliance was very supportive of MicroHub. They wanted to make sure that we also just realize that this is just one step in a grand scheme of things with helping our district and our streets. They found a problem with the 40th Street location as well because of the theater loads in and out of the area. And also with Port Authority Bus Terminal reconstruction that we know is long and ongoing, that may not have been an ideal place either. Union Square Partnership was also very supportive of the program. They didn't have any suggestions. I did do a Zoom meeting with 6 members of CB7 to discuss how the pilot program had worked for them so far. How did it begin? How is it working now? What were some issues that they wanted to discuss that maybe could help us navigate our initial stages of this? And we just have an ongoing dialogue with them. They do have a little bit different probably concerns than we do in CB5 because they're more residential, and their public comments were more concerned about losing the parking spaces. And then as far as our CB5 correspondence with DOT was just that DOT wasn't planning on implementing anything until this next spring at the earliest. So again, overall concern with the few comments we did have was sidewalk space for pedestrians, that there needs to be a master plan for curb access and not just the micro hub, and then the negative impact on public spaces and sanitation on these streets. These are 4 out of the 6 that were specifically named as not ideal, or that they found, the public found issues with. And the only other 2 suggestions that we had was that we could possibly go further down on 6th Avenue, more near or near Madison Square Park. And again, the comments were that they were definitely not fond of the 7th Avenue near Central Park. And one of the partnerships suggested the north side of 40th Street at the easternmost part where the New York Times building is on the west. So I wish I had more to report as far as everything of feedback, but that's really all I have. So now what's next? I don't know if we as a committee want to decide to still try to do more outreach. I mean, I'd love to. I don't know how much more other than us talking about it in meetings, putting it on our website, putting it in our newsletter, and putting flyers out. And you know, the bids, the ones that have responded have been great, but that's that was the best we could do too. Do we decide to do that, or do we want to talk about what we feel we want to suggest and recommend and write a letter or reso today? Thanks. Are you talking, David? You're on mute. Zool, you have a question?
I do.
Yeah.
Tiffany, DOT calls this a micro hub pilot program. Is there?
I think, sorry,
I think David is trying to
David-
stop Zool from talking.
Yeah,
but
I think so
David,
too.
you're muted.
David, you're muted.
I will be chair of the committee
Thank
until
you.
I'm not. So
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Let me jump in here. Let me try and organize the
Yeah,
discussion,
thank you.
and then we'll
Yeah.
move forward. So you know, there was a lot of effort that Tiffany put into this over a long period of time. I think our goal had been DOT had done a certain level of outreach to different organizations, and we wanted to sort of reach within our district and see if we could get more detailed input on specific locations. We have a little bit of that, but you know, not from a lot of people. We had also had Samir and I had conversations last year with CB4 and CB6 about some of these items because we overlap. We share 8th Avenue and Lex as borders, and those are, you know, potential locations for these as well. They both expressed interest in sort of seeing the work that we did. So, you know, in terms of where Tiffany left it, you know, we could take general action today if we wanted to, just in continued support of micro hubs and passing on this information to DOT. We also should probably reach back out to CB4 and CB6, share the package that Tiffany just presented, and see if they want to put the effort in their districts to get additional comments from, you know, their own community groups and members of their district. So I think that's really the topic. I don't know that CB5's view of this has really changed very much. I'd be interested in hearing, you know, that from committee members as well. But, you know, we felt that this is the way it's done now as kind of freelancing Wild West is not working, and an organized way and a controlled way and potentially a revenue producing way of doing this made a lot more sense. So again, I mean, I think the decision to make tonight is, do we want to take action tonight, or do we want to effectively table it, go out to CB4 and CB6 and see if they can broaden the discussion? So that's kind of where we are. Yeah, Zool.
Yeah, so my question for Tiffany is, DOT calls this the microhub pilot project. So is there in fact an existing pilot? Do any of these exist in any shape or form? Does DOT have any proof of concept?
Well,
Hey, it's Colleen from DOT.
Thanks, Colleen. Thank you.
Hi, I'm more than happy to answer that question. So yes, it is a pilot. And we work with Community Board 7, where we install the first micro hubs located on Amsterdam Avenue and West 73rd Street, as well as Amsterdam Avenue and West 85th Street and Broadway and West 77th Street. Through this program, we offer dedicated spaces for select delivery companies participating in the pilot program, including Amazon, Net Zero Logistics, and UPS. So each of these 3 locations were chosen as part of the New York City DOT Smart Curbs program on the Upper West Side. So yes, we do have 3 locations. And I believe we expanded them to several sites in CB7, but I have to confirm that.
And Colleen, did you receive public comment on the positive or negative side about these existing hubs?
So we have received positive comments about this, because what it has done is that it has opened up spaces for other entities to use that space to make deliveries, as opposed to double parking and having like a 45 tractor trailer truck coming there to making deliveries. So I mean, that's one positive aspect of this program. And, it really has tremendously reduced the traffic congestion along those corridors.
So that would be a proof of concept. If you can, can show that to us, that it really has reduced congestion, stopped the double parking and the like, made the deliveries more efficient, that would be very helpful for us to know.
Yes, and I agree. And my colleagues, they will join us at next month's Transportation Committee meeting to give more of a progress update on the program. So, that is something that we'll share with the community board in March.
Christopher.
So, I mean, just we were just talking about talking to CB4 and CB6 and trying to coordinate, and we're doing a lot of that lately. And I think it's probably a really strong thing to just have all of our stuff together. I think everything that was done is really great. Everything was assembled in a wonderful way. But given this information just now, maybe it is best to just check in with CB4 and CB6 when they come back next month to talk to us. We'll be ready to really put something out if anything changes. I mean, right now I would vote to support the micro hub program. It sounds perfectly fine to me. But just in the interest of coordinating with the nearby community boards is better, and waiting for the information that was just promised, maybe we just wait till next month.
Okay. Any other comments on that, or Tiffany, how do you feel about that?
No, I'm totally happy to CB7 changed their leadership in the transportation committee. So I just need to get in contact with the new individuals from that community board, and then I would love to reach out to 4 and 6 also, and just get as much information as I can from them as well. So I'm happy to do that. I think us collaborating is always going to be the best way for our city in general. So that's great. I don't know how many more annoying emails or things I can send out to get more direct input from the public. But I'm happy to keep trying whatever anybody wants me to do.
Okay. I mean, were there other groups that you didn't get a chance to reach out to?
No, I contacted all the bids and partnerships, every single one of them.
All right, great. Athena, yeah.
This is just a question not on the overall direction or next step we're trying to take. First of all, Tiffany, I think you've done a tremendous amount of research and outreach, and I couldn't be more appreciative of the work that you put into it. And based on your understanding, it sounded like 4 of those locations have some nearby residents or stakeholders who have some opinions about the microhub program. Do you think that's more on the concept of having microhubs, or is that more just you can have them, just not in my backyard type of thing?
I think, and again, I'm just assuming, but I feel like more the public comments were more specific to just not wanting more public space taken up and pedestrian space taken up. And the information and feedback I got from the partnerships and bids was more logistics about, like I said, Port Authority bus terminals. It's getting totally revamped, and the busyness around the theater district and the crowds and busyness toward Central Park South. So I think it was a little bit of mix. But I mean, all feedback is great, but those are kind of the two different sides that I took from it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, so then let's do this. Tiffany, if you'll share your deck, we'll pass it on to Colleen.
Okay.
So she'll get whatever feedback we have at this point and can share that with her colleagues that are on this project.
Yeah,
And then
I just
we'll,
want to say,
yeah.
sorry, David, sorry. I just want to
That's
say,
okay.
Tiffany, your presentation was well thought out and it was excellent. So thank you for doing that legwork. And please share it with me because I'd like to share it with my colleagues. So when we come next month, we'll be prepared to have the responses to the questions that you've asked or that you've highlighted. All right. So
Great.
thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
And then we'll share it with CB4 and CB6.
Yeah.
And we'll get that discussion started, and then we'll bring it back to committee, when there's more to say.
Perfect.
Okay, great. Thanks again for the effort. I mean, I know, and plus you're chairing another committee, so
It's okay. No problem.
thanks. Okay, Samir and Robert, if you however you want to present the proposed street blade co-naming policy.
Great. So let me pull up the document. So hopefully people remember, but we went through this last meeting. So we're going to try to be very quick. That's not what I wanted to share. Where's the screen? Why did it not share the one I wanted to share? Of course, it's going to share the wrong one. No one go look at the YouTube video and pause and see what I was doing. Okay. Is this the right one? This seems like the right one. All right, so let's see this document. Okay, so we went through it last time. We went through a whole slide deck and it was emailed out beforehand. So Robert and I went through and made some adjustments. So I'm just going to highlight what was changed and then hopefully we can take it to a vote. So there were some structural changes just to make the document easier to read. But the only thing that was changed that was concrete was for organizations. It used to be that the honoree could be in service. So like if you were, let's say, a food kitchen or a soup kitchen, and you've been operating for 30 years out of a church or whatever, you would be able to apply to have your name on a street blade. We decided that street blades should be made available only for things that don't exist currently, because if you exist, then people know about you. Like you don't really need the notice or the honorific. And so it's now the proposed honoree must either be out of service already or have plans to discontinue operations within a year from when the application is to be considered. The idea basically being, if you're a long-standing food kitchen or whatever it is, but you're going to close and you want some sort of legacy, then you could apply. I believe that was the only thing that changed besides the structure. I think number of signatures went up from 50 to 75, but everything else is the same. So, and this was emailed out beforehand. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions, but if not, I think we should just take it to a vote because it was presented last time, and the resolution or the motion would be to make this our official policy going forward. There's nothing saying we can't change it, but this would be a place for us to start because right now we don't have a policy, or we do have a policy, but it's being ignored because the policy is no. And so people don't listen to us. And so if that sounds good, we can do that, David.
Yeah, let me, so the one question I had, I know, Robert, you had some concerns at our last discussion. Could you remind me of kind of what those were and whether they've been accommodated in this?
Samir wouldn't listen to my feedback, and
Yeah.
so he just left it alone. No, I mean, when I reacted to this last meeting and, said that I wanted to be a part of it, it was kind of my lawyer brain kicking in, thinking maybe we could tweak some things in terms of the process. So no, everything has been included. I mean, one other thing that Samir didn't touch on was, for example, there's now an express requirement that an applicant demonstrate that a proposed honoree, can't adequately be honored through some other means. So whether that's a plaque or, a monument or whatever it is. But that, trying to sort of codify or proceduralize the idea that street naming should be rare and, kind of only if nothing else makes sense. But yeah, so I mean, nothing else for me. I think it's all in there.
The only other question I had was, there were some temporary street blade, right? They did what, the Knicks or something? Was it last year? So that was done directly by the mayor, right? And my sense in reading this was that would not be allowed under this policy.
That's a good question. I think these are more for this policy is for the permanent street
Permanent,
naming.
yeah. Okay.
So I think for what he did, which was basically to rename several Manhattan streets after members of the Knicks, those were just temporary. So I don't think it went through that process. So the process I'm talking about was, where's somewhere here? There's this official process from the city.
Right.
I highly doubt that they went through and, asked the DOT. Well, I guess they might have had to ask the DOT, but I doubt there's no way they passed a bill through the council to do it.
Okay.
One other thing I guess I'd add is just, I think, as I understand the purpose of this document, this is, if someone comes to us, here are the standards we're going to consider. But obviously, if they go above our heads or, then that's not our call.
Yeah, I mean, my sense of this was it's a very high bar, but not impossible. So that seemed to be the goal in the first place. Athena, yeah.
I think well, David, if you call on me, I will talk. Samir, I appreciate you putting the parameters around the signatures. I think that's super smart because when I first heard 75, I was like, why don't we make it 175? But then I think the 75 have to come from a 2-block radius makes a lot of sense. My question is, what does the second sentence do? Like, are we saying like all 75 have to come from a 2-block radius, or a majority of the 75 have to come from a 2-block radius? And I would vote, they all have to come from a 2-block.
I see. Yeah, right now it says, I guess right now it's unclear because here it says live or work and are located within a defined 2-block radius, and then here it says a majority must come from residents and or businesses within a 2-block radius. Yeah, I think we can just delete the second sentence.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that work for you, Athena?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you.
Joel.
Yeah, Samir, Robert, I support the resolution, but I do have a question about the legacy issue. I run the Catholic Worker Joseph House Soup Kitchen on East First Street, not in our district. It's been in operation long past, far more than since Dorothy Day started in the 30s. So, and it's going to continue in service because the need has not decreased but only increased. So I just want to understand it would be, I mean, had we this blade on us, it would be helpful to some of the people, the people who come to us to eat and to get warm. So just wondering what the reasoning is behind this out of service legacy idea.
Yeah, I mean, basically The idea is that street blade co-namings are not meant to help you with wayfinding. They are intentionally exclusively for honorifics. So the same way that we typically don't name a park after an alive person or a bridge or whatever else, we wouldn't name a street after either an entity or an individual who's still alive.
Okay, well, the Dorothy Day will probably be a saint before this becomes a street with a street blade.
And then
Joel.
there you go.
Samir, I have a minor comment, just a typo at the top of the first page. It is in the 1, 2, 3rd paragraph. It is with those realities in mind. And then I have a question on the last page, or not the last page of the chart, but the 3rd page, where there's 3 bullet points. In the 2nd bullet point, you say, if the committee recommends, which it's gone through this whole process, and we then say, yes, it's good, the application may be brought before the full board for approval. If the committee recommends, shouldn't it, is it supposed to be permissive or?
No, I just changed it to will.
Okay, that was it. The other changes from the last time were really good. Thank you.
Will.
Yeah, what is the, why do we ask for the total number of residences and units?
I think we just want to know how many people are impacted. Is it this one that you're talking about? The total
Yeah.
number of residents, units? Yeah, I think we just wanted to know what the impact is, because in theory, this can add confusion. But do you think that's too onerous? Is that the problem?
I mean, yeah, I would lean towards if this feels like a lot of stuff, and I get the idea of, we want to make it a high bar. We don't really, but yeah, I would probably get rid of that one if I had a say.
Sorry, the other reason I thought it made sense to include that, not that I think I'm wedded to it, was to get a sense for the proportion of residents and people who work there who are affirmatively supporting the plan, right? So we're asking for 75 signatures, and that means a lot more if there's 100 people or 500 people or 5,000 or 50,000. But that's what I understood the purpose to be.
Got it. Yeah, it feels a little onerous from my perspective, but I will defer to you guys.
I think I'm happy to get rid of it. It is probably a little bit onerous, and I don't think there's an easy way to get it. So you'd have to, I guess, go to Street Easy and look up every building and see how many units are in it. So I'm happy to get rid of it.
Okay, great.
Okay, anything else?
Then let me just make sure it's not in the chart. No, we're all good.
Okay. Any public comment on this? If you want to raise your hand. Dave Drake. Ooh, hold on. Okay, you can unmute.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share. Just wanted to express my support as well for this becoming a possibility for CP5. And yes, thank you for this discussion.
Thank you. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, then if somebody wants to make a motion on this, we can.
A motion to support the resolution.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay. All right, let it rip, Karen.
All righty, Charles.
Yes.
Okay, Athena.
Yes.
Alice.
Yes.
Ankur.
Yes.
Nancy.
Yes.
Samir.
Yes.
Christopher.
Yes.
I'm a yes. Tiffany.
Yes.
Will.
Yes.
Okay, David.
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Andy.
Yes.
Zool.
Yes.
Joel.
Yes.
Okay, 2 unanimous today.
So my only comment on this for Samir and Robert is that we should share it with the city councilman's office before we bring it to board.
Sure.
See if they have any comments before we vote on it there. Okay.
So the city council member who asked for this is, it's vacant right now. So,
Well, yeah, I mean, we could send it to the chief of staff, or is there no staff anymore?
I mean, the chief of staff is now running for that seat.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
But Lori's there until the end of the month, Lori H. She's still there. She knows most about our community board.
Okay, I'll send it to her and I'll CC you, David, and Kieran.
Yeah, or ask Marissa to send it.
Great.
And I'll, Tiffany, on your stuff, I'll ask Marissa to forward these to her, her contacts at CB4 and 6.
Okay,
And
perfect.
yeah, and she'll forward it to Colleen as well.
Okay.
All right. Any new business, anything else? So, no. Then we'll reserve time at the March meeting to talk about micro hubs again with DOT and see if we learn anything from the other two community boards between now and then. All right, great. Thanks everybody, and thanks for showing up virtually tonight after all the snow.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to all the presenters.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
How do I end the meeting?
I can press the button.
Yeah, okay.